A vast army of warriors proved powerless against this celestial being, a celebrated narrative within sacred scripture. The Holy Bible recounts numerous divine actions impacting humanity. The tale of King Hezekiah and his numerous adversaries stands as a striking instance of heavenly involvement. Hezekiah contrasted sharply with his wicked predecessor, Ahaz. During his 29-year rule, he earned the rare distinction of acting justly before God, mirroring the actions of his forefather, King David. This was no simple accomplishment, given his societal environment and prevailing conditions. In the 3rd year of Hoshea, son of Elah, ruler of Israel, Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, leader of Judah, commenced his reign. He was merely 25 years of age upon ascending the throne, governing Jerusalem for 29 years. His mother was Abi, daughter of Zechariah. Hezekiah, amidst widespread idolatry and religious abandonment, chose a distinct course. He acted uprightly before God, conforming to the conduct of his ancestor David, as documented in 2 Kings chapter 18, verse 13. He was among the select few monarchs who championed the designated places of worship to God during a period when many leaders were diverting the populace from divine adherence. Hezekiah not only upheld these sacred sites, but also implemented radical measures against pagan worship. He eradicated the sacred poles dedicated to Asherah, demolished the idols, and perhaps most notably, destroyed the bronze serpent crafted by Moses centuries prior, which had become a focus of veneration for the Israelites. This serpent, designated Nehushtan, signifying bronze image, was created by Moses under divine instruction to heal the people during a lethal epidemic. Numbers 21:8-9 details how God directed Moses to fashion a bronze serpent and elevate it on a pole, ensuring that any serpent-bitten individual who gazed upon it would live. This representation, once a symbol of deliverance, had transformed into an idol, an object of divine abhorrence. It is genuinely lamentable that an artifact employed by God for the salvation of his people became an object of improper worship. This exemplifies how something originally intended for noble purposes can be perverted over time. For these reasons, among others, Hezekiah is esteemed as a ruler who distinguished himself and surpassed other monarchs in his devotion to God's precepts. He not only eliminated the idols, but also reinstated authentic worship to God throughout his domain. According to 2 Kings chapter 18, verses 4 and 5, Hezekiah abolished the high places, shattered the sacred pillars, felled the Asherah poles, and crushed the bronze serpent Moses had fashioned. For until that juncture, the Israelites had been burning incense to it, referring to it as Nehushtan. Hezekiah placed his complete reliance upon the Lord, the God of Israel. None equaled him among all the kings of Judah, neither before nor after his reign. After studying the infidelity and heinous deeds of numerous kings of Israel and Judah, the account of Hezekiah offers respite. His rule stood as a testament to his fealty to divine commandments. He prospered in every endeavor due to the Lord's presence. As recorded in 2 Kings chapter 18, verses 6 through 16, Hezekiah remained loyal to the Lord, never forsaking him, and observed the commandments given to Moses. Due to his faithfulness, God bestowed blessings upon him in all his undertakings. Hezekiah revolted against the Assyrian king and ceased serving him. He conquered the Philistines as far as Gaza and its territories, encompassing both watchtowers and fortified cities. In the 4th year of Hezekiah's reign, corresponding to the 7th year of Hoshea, king of Israel, Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, advanced against Samaria and besieged it. After a 3-year siege, Samaria fell. In Hezekiah's 6th year, the 9th year of Hoshea's reign, the Assyrian king exiled the Israelites to Assyria, settling them in Hala, Gozan, along the Habor River, and within the Median cities. This occurred because they disregarded the voice of the Lord their God, violating the covenant established with them. They neither heeded nor adhered to all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. In the 14th year of Hezekiah's rule, Sennacherib, king of Assyria, launched an assault on all the fortified cities of Judah, capturing them. Subsequently, Hezekiah, king of Judah, dispatched a message to the Assyrian king at Lachish, confessing his transgression and offering to pay any demanded tribute. The Assyrian king levied a tribute of 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold upon Hezekiah. Consequently, Hezekiah surrendered all the silver located within the Lord's temple and the royal treasuries. Hezekiah even removed the gold from the temple doors and doorposts to satisfy the Assyrian king. This payment represented a desperate attempt to prevent Judah from enduring Israel's fate. Hezekiah, who had previously opposed Assyrian dominion, now found himself compelled to submit under the immense threat. Regrettably for Judah, events unfolded unfavorably. Sennacherib besieged and seized all of Judah's fortified cities, leaving only Jerusalem untouched. It was at this juncture that Hezekiah likely realized he had underestimated the gravity of the situation. He had already acknowledged his wrongdoing to Sennacherib and presented a ransom to shield his people from Israel's destiny. The sum was substantial, and Hezekiah relinquished all available gold and silver, even stripping the temple's gold. However, circumstances were about to deteriorate. God surrounded the Assyrians around Jerusalem to evaluate Hezekiah's faith and demonstrate his might to his people. Sennacherib deemed Hezekiah's ransom insufficient and sought a pretext to assault Jerusalem regardless. The Assyrian king dispatched a delegation and a substantial army to Jerusalem, demanding the city's capitulation. This constituted a period of intense strain and uncertainty for Judah. Hezekiah, king of Judah, sent another plea to the Assyrian king at Lachish, reiterating his confession and willingness to pay any demanded sum. The Assyrian king then demanded 10,000 talents of silver and 1,000 talents of gold. Hezekiah then surrendered all the silver found within the Lord's temple and the royal treasures. Once more, Hezekiah was forced to remove the gold from the temple's doors and doorposts to fulfill the Assyrian king's demands. Yet, even this humiliating submission failed to placate Sennacherib. The successor of Shalmaneser, Israel's conqueror, was the Assyrian king Hezekiah would ultimately confront. Sennacherib, after receiving the tribute, remained unsatisfied and desired more. He dispatched a formidable army to Jerusalem, headed by his principal officers, including the Tartan, the Rabsaris, and the Rabshakeh. Upon reaching Jerusalem, they halted at the aqueduct of the upper pool along the route to the washerman's field and summoned the king. Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, the palace administrator, Shebna the scribe, and Joah, son of Asaph, the recorder, proceeded to meet them. The Rabshakeh addressed them, conveying the words of the great king, the king of Assyria, to Hezekiah. He questioned the basis of Hezekiah's confidence. He asserted that Hezekiah's claims of counsel and military strength were mere empty pronouncements. He inquired upon whom Hezekiah was relying to rebel against him. Sennacherib doubted Hezekiah's capacity to resist his power and attempted to intimidate him and the inhabitants of Jerusalem with demoralizing rhetoric. He reminded Hezekiah that the Egyptians, upon whom Judah might have depended, were a feeble and treacherous ally. He also alleged that Hezekiah had provoked his own God by demolishing the high places and altars. Sennacherib presented Hezekiah with an alternative. He proposed that upon surrender, Hezekiah would be relocated to a more tranquil location where he could reside peacefully, promising a superior existence than he would possess in Jerusalem. Hezekiah and the people of Judah were deeply disturbed by these threats and pressures. Hezekiah rent his garments in mourning and clothed himself in sackcloth. He proceeded to the Lord's temple to offer supplications. Simultaneously, he sent emissaries to the prophet Isaiah, seeking assistance and guidance. Isaiah responded, instructing them not to fear, as God had heard the Assyrian king's blasphemies and had devised a plan to address him. The prophet assured Hezekiah that the Assyrian king would retreat to his own territory and perish there. Indeed, as Isaiah had foretold, Sennacherib received intelligence of the Ethiopian king's impending attack and initiated preparations to depart. However, before departing, he dispatched a final letter to Hezekiah, reiterating his threats. Hezekiah carried the letter to the temple and prayed to the Lord, imploring divine intervention. God responded through Isaiah, guaranteeing Hezekiah that the city would be spared and that Sennacherib would not enter it. That very night, the angel of the Lord descended and struck down 185,000 men within the Assyrian encampment. By daybreak, all were deceased. Sennacherib, witnessing the devastation that had befallen his army, returned to his homeland, where he was subsequently assassinated by his own sons, precisely as prophesied. This narrative serves as a powerful reminder that faithfulness to God does not exempt us from adversity, but prepares us to face it with faith and confidence in divine action. This episode clearly demonstrates God's power to protect his people and fulfill his promises, even in the face of the greatest threats. The story of Hezekiah is an inspiring testament of courage and unwavering faith that can challenge even the greatest obstacles. Despite seemingly insurmountable adversities and formidable threats, divine intervention proved powerful and decisive. Hezekiah's battle was not just a fight for survival, but an affirmation of God's supremacy over any earthly power. This episode underscores the importance of trusting in God and seeking His guidance in times of crisis, knowing that even when everything seems lost, God's hand is always present to guide and protect those who remain faithful.